allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty.
Okay. I think I'll just. Okay, the next thing on here, Alan, we have, if we have any elected officials here tonight that are joining us, we can have them introduce themselves. Do you see any?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nicole Greer, and I serve on the City Council of Creve Coeur, representing Ward 2. Good to see you all tonight.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Sue Meredith. I'm the Township Committee Woman for Creve Coeur Township. And I want to tell you, we have a new committee man. It's Kevin Seltzer. He cannot be with us tonight because he is driving a couple 100 miles to get his COVID shot.
Well, that is wonderful that we have a new committee man.
Yes.
So when was he elected?
He was appointed at the, nominated and elected at the last Central Committee meeting, last month.
Thank you. Then we need to reach out to him. Okay, thank you.
He's looking forward to coming. He said, do I have to be there? Because I have my choices, be there or go get my COVID shot. I said, go get your COVID shot.
Okay. Anyone else? I saw Dale and Dale and Dave. Okay. Well, I guess that's it. So back over to you, Alan.
All right. And yes, I am Alan Harris Dalt. Harvey is having he's having a medical procedure tomorrow. And so he asked me to run things just in case, anything happened as he was preparing for all that. I've been around the Maryland Heights group for a few months now, and I'm really just glad to be here with you all. Are there any announcements that folks have for the good of the whole?
Well, the only thing I want to say is Cindy Jackson is our new vice president for Creve Coeur Democratic Club. So you could focus on Cindy again, and she will be handling the chat tonight for us.
Great. And I will say from the Maryland Heights side, we do have a new social media emphasis going on both Facebook and Twitter. So if you are not already connected with us and have accounts on either of those platforms, feel free to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and respond to things that you see that are interesting to you. And of course, those are open to the public, whether or not you live in the township. But we'd love to have a whole lot of folks saying a whole lot of things on there.
Mm-hmm.
Any other announcements?
The next thing, any more announcements? No one has any more? This is a quiet group, isn't it? Are we ready to continue then, Alan?
I think so, yeah.
Well, I also would like to thank all of the new people who joined us tonight and visitors as well. And if you're interested in joining our townships, you have our Harvey or myself. You can contact either one of us, and we'll be happy to take you in. Now I'm going to introduce our speaker for tonight. And it's a pleasure that I have the opportunity to do this. I've had the opportunity to meet this young lady on several occasions, and I just think she's fantastic. And I don't know, she became mayor and she was just known all over. Every network had her on. And I'm thinking, what a celebrity. But you did get a bio of her on the program. I hope all of you read that. I also want to tell you about her working with Mary Kay as a sales director for 22 years. And she is the founder and chairperson of Community Forward Incorporated, a nonprofit community development organization. And she's also a council member in Ferguson. She serves as a council representative of the following commissions and boards: Human Rights, Traffic, Landmark, Senior Citizens, Park, and the West Florissant Business Association. Ellie is the chairperson of the annual Unity Weekend, which provides school supplies and support services to families with children attending schools in the district serving Ferguson. Ellen collaborates with the Samaritan Feet organization during their National Day of Service event held every January in Ferguson to provide stylish athletic shoes to children in the school district serving Ferguson. And as Ruth Bader Ginsburg said, women belong in all places where discussions are being made. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And Shirley Chisholm says, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. So I am elated to present our speaker for tonight, the Honorable Mayor Ella M. Jones.
Well, thank you, Ms. Florence Pullen. And I just would like to say good evening to the Creve Coeur and Maryland Heights Township. And I am just so excited that I see several of my friends here tonight. And I know he does not want me to do this, but I just want to give a shout out to the Honorable Charlie Dooley. He is the committee man for Normandy Township, I believe. I was so excited that when Miss Florence Pullen called me, my assistant said, what you gonna do? I said, I guess I'm gonna do it. I just want to share that I am the president of the Ferguson Township Open Democratic Club. So our theme today is International Women's Day, and the subject of it is Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future in a COVID-19 world. So when Ms. Florence gave me my topic, my rise to mayor and moving Ferguson forward, that's very dear to my heart. Just want to start off where I got started, council, and where we move in Ferguson, why we moving Ferguson forward. I was minding my own business. I promise you, I was minding my own business, having an excellent business in Mary Kay Cosmetics. My husband had recently passed in 2013, and I was still kind of trying to figure out what I want to do because of the loss that I had experienced in my life. So in August of 2014, my committee woman at the time was Patricia Bynes. And she called me and she said, Ella, a young man is laying in the street, and he'd been lying in the street for 4.5 hours. I said, Patricia, what do you want me to do? She said, I don't want you to do anything. I just wanted you to know what's going on. I grew angry. Why? It could have been my child out there from a fatal shooting of a police officer. The unrest just went rampant in Ferguson. So a couple of weeks later, she called me and she asked me to meet her downtown at the Urban League. So I went to the Urban League. I never had an opportunity to meet Michael Macmillan, but I did at this point. He is the CEO and president of the Urban League. He greeted me. He was very kind to me. We sat and talked in his office. Next person come in the office, Adolphus Pruitt, who is the president of the city NAACP. I said, okay, what's going on here? Next thing I know, Claire McCaskill, she walks in the office, and here come Congressman Clay. I'm like, okay, what's going on? And Senator Claire McCaskill at the time said, Ella, we have been following your career. You've been active in the township. We know that you have pastored 22 years in the African Methodist Episcopal Church. You run a successful business, but we would like for you to run for council for the city of Ferguson in Ward 1. I'm like, you all gotta be kidding. I am not going to give up my business. But I was convicted on the way home when this community has given me so much. I educated my daughter here. She had the ability to walk to school and feel safe walking to school. She went to high school. She graduated from McClure High School as a scholar athlete. So it was my time to give back to the community had given me so much. So I promised them that I will run for the city of Ferguson, Ward 1 councilwoman. I was in a race with 3 other people. And my husband, he was a big union person. He was the electrician for IBEW local number 1. He worked at Boeing until he retired. So the first thing I did, I remember what they told me at his funeral. Ella, if you ever need anything, call us. So I called a friend of his, Sylvester Taylor, who works at IBEW. And he said, Ella, we're going to help you. So I interned the Labor Club, all the unions, they got behind me and they supported me. And we were at a debate. And one of the young men who was running for the office, instead of taking his time, giving his 3-minute opening speech, he focused on how the union had supported me. And at the very end, I just went through, I just shift. A lot of people know when I need to do something, I shift. So I just made a shift in my chair and got to the end of it. And I just shared with him that my husband had worked all these years and I should have the support of the unions. However, you cannot run a race. You cannot run a campaign on a bake sale. So if you're upset because I have support, then you're just going to have to be upset. I won that race. I won my council race. And that was in April 2015 when I was on the council and we were still in the height of the unrest. So I began to move around the city. When I say move, I began to talk to the people. I began to listen to the people. I began to work with the people, work with the senior citizens. And they are people who wanted to be heard. And I promised them that I would be a voice for the people. So after I began to work and came in contact with a lot of people, I met Don Logue and a couple other people. We got together and we started Community Forward because we felt like Community Forward needed to be positioned in Ferguson and in North County to grow and establish people and have a multi way of people working together. So we started Community Forward and we have supported a lot of projects. So in 2017, I decided that I was going to run for mayor. And I began to work the relationships that I had, and people say, "Oh, you're not going to be able to beat the present mayor. They think you just look good." I'm like, okay, fine. So I did run for mayor in 2017. And some people say I lost the race, but I didn't lose the race. I learned. I had to learn how to look at this political landscape in a different way. I had to step and move the way I think to a different level. I had to engage different people. So in 2018, I ran for my council seat, and I won my council seat in 2018. In 2020, I decided to run again for mayor. I took everything I had learned and put it in that particular race. However, in March, COVID hit, and an emergency order came out in Ferguson that you could not knock doors. And I had a grassroots campaign. So I had to go back and rethink the way in which I was campaigning with my team. But I thank God for young people, because young people are so smart. They say, well, Ms. Jones, we're going to put you on Facebook. I had a girlfriend, Peggy. She did a lot of videos for me. So we moved from knocking doors, grassroots, to going on Facebook. So the campaign was going beautiful. The order came, we wasn't going to have an election in April. They moved the election to June. So we still had to continue to work. So the night of the election, the numbers were coming in, and I was not winning. I sat down, and my communication director at the time was Patricia Washington. She said, don't worry about anything. It's going to be all right. So when they finally came over with the numbers and they told me, they said, Ella, you won the election. I said, okay, are you playing with me? Are you telling me the truth? So they told me I won the election, and I jumped up. My daughter was excited. Shirley Emerson grabbed me by the neck. We just celebrated and I had a good time. But that election was the turning point for Ferguson. Why? It gave people hope. It gave people an understanding that they had someone in City Hall who was willing to listen to them, who willing to work with them, and wanted to make a difference in the community. So as I began to work with the various commissions, as mayor, I did not give up the commission on the senior citizens. I did not give up the Parks Board. I did not give up the West Florissant Business District, because it was important to me to continue to work. Matter of fact, I took on more because I'm always at the planning and zoning meetings. I'm always out in the community talking to the people. One person asked me, well, what makes your leadership different than anyone else's? And my style is different because I'm a servant leader. I don't believe that I need all the power. There's enough power to empower people to move them forward. If you are out here and you think you know everything, people are not interested in that. People are interested in how much you care instead of how much you know. And as I began to work my first 90 days as mayor of Ferguson, I held a town hall meeting, and I shared with the people that 3 days after I was elected, I made certain I had an appointment with County Executive Sam Page, had him to come here to Ferguson. The city manager rode him around Ferguson for him to see the condition of Ferguson and how we were expecting the county to help us move Ferguson from its place of complacency to move them to a place where they want to grow and do better. And when you have people who are willing to work with you, who are willing to get out of that comfort zone and take a look at their community and say, we're going to work with you, then and only then you can be successful. And I say that because people have come from every walk of life to work with me to move Ferguson forward. We established a task force. I know a lot of business people, a lot of nonprofit, and we all come together and we have established this task force. And the task force is to work for the people. And I established it into a point where it would not sit under the governance of the Ferguson City Council because I didn't want it to be political. But when you have executive people coming in, they have to be able to work freely and show you and explain to you the things that need to be done in your community. So we have some working on transportation, we have some working on housing, well-being, and the parks and education. So they can give us an objective way on how we can take this city and move it forward. We're working on the infrastructure of Ferguson. Our sidewalks and our streets, they need to be repaired. They really do. But more importantly, we are still holding courageous conversations. We have a group here by the name of Proud, and they have a courageous conversation tomorrow night. And as long as we can keep that channel, that communication channel open, we can steady move Ferguson forward. In addition to that, we just started a property restoration program. In my community, we have abandoned houses, and they are in such a state that if we can get the neighbor to look at the house adjacent to them and say, we want to invest in that home and put it back on the tax roll, the city is willing to work with them. Also, on the other side of that program, if an investor wants to come in and rehab houses, they will have to go through a different set of rules laid out for them to purchase their home. So we're in the process of restoring homes. It is very important that we have people to continue to move to the community. If we don't have people continually, young people, young families, continually coming into your community will die, because we need the young people to move in. We need them to occupy these starters' home here in Ferguson. We have economic development going on in Ferguson. Burlington has purchased the old Toys R Us, and they are putting a store up in that particular place on West Florissant. And we have been working diligently to keep the people here in Ferguson safe. Our fire chief at the time was Chief John Hampton. He made certain that we had PPEs to distribute to the people. Our senior citizens have food, working with the Urban League to make certain that anyone who needs food or PPEs, we could go to them and help them get food. Working with St. Louis County, Sam Page in the health department, Ferguson get at least 1,000 masks per month to distribute to our senior citizens. And when our seniors come pick up their food from the food bank, they'll be able to get their masks. So moving Ferguson forward require all of us working together in unity. When there is confusion, nothing can get done. And so my goal and my hope and my desire is to continue to work with the people who want to move their community forward. In closing, Ferguson is a very good place to live, work, and play. I've been living here 40 years. I'm going to do everything I can to move my community forward, make it a safe place. And I'm excited about where I live because I know 3 years ago, I lived in between 2 vacant homes and a house right across the street. But now all of those houses are filled with families, and that's progress. And so my goal is to continue to work with the people. We have an election coming up, and the election is April the 6th. And I share with people, a lot of people ask me, what are you going to do next? My next thing is to do, when we get a new council, to work with that council to see exactly how they're going to improve their particular wards. We have a trash problem out here. Every 3 months, we try to work and together as a community to pick up the trash. But we're going to have to take it a little bit further because we're going to have to teach people you cannot ride up and down the streets in Ferguson and throw your trash out. We have problems that we know we can solve. We have an excellent police chief. We are working diligently with him. We have a group that's called the Neighborhood Police Steering Committee, and they work with our consent decree coordinator to make policies, and that the policies that they write with the police department help the police to be better at their jobs. When you get stopped, you don't want to feel afraid. You know, when we were younger, we had to have the talk, but now police should respect you just as much as you respect them. So we are working on that to better the police relationships with the community. Our young people, they are enjoying themselves. Our police chief, he works with our young people. He holds basketball games for them. And just a couple of weeks ago, we had one young lady, she's about 8, 9 years old, and she's suffering from cancer. And her mother went up to the police department and talked to the police chief. And we had a parade for her birthday. That is the compassionate side we want people to see. Our police department give away coats to our students. So Ferguson is a good place, and Ferguson is going to get better, and we're going to work together. This is not only my city, but it belongs to all of us working together as a team. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. So we are going to move into the Q&A. So if you have any questions for Mayor Jones, feel free to go ahead and put those in the chat. So our first question looks like, what are the plans to revitalize West Florissant?
Well, right now there's such a thing is called the Bill Grant, and working with county executive and the Department of Transportation and the St. Louis Partnership, we are getting ready to fill out that grant again. And we are working to get lobbyists from various corporations to lobby, and we're going to talk with our senators and our state representatives to let them know that that Bill Grant is important to the West Florissant area. However, West Florissant is being revitalized as we speak. We have the Urban League, who built the Empowerment Center where the old Quick Trip was burned out. And just a quarter of a mile from that, the Boys and Girls Club, they built on West Florissant Avenue. We have a clinic. Healthy Homes are building a clinic. So with Mercy Hospital, so that's moving West Florissant. And also there's a car wash that has been abandoned, and Ferguson have purchased it along with Great Rivers Greenway, and it's going to be a trailhead. So we are working to revitalize West Florissant.
Okay, are there any other questions? There's not any other in the chat right now. So if you have any questions, go ahead, feel free to put those in there. Okay, our next question is what kind of support from other communities? Oh, it looks like it got cut off. Let's see. Oh, what kind of support from other communities such as Creve Coeur? Basically, what can other communities do to help to support?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question because we are working here in North County to work together. In other words, what affects Ferguson affects Florissant, it affects Delwood. And if we can all work together, when we have an event, you support my event, I support your event. You may know of some grants coming available that you can help us get the information and fill those grants out. So we can always work together.
Okay. Any other questions for Mayor Jones? There's a question that says, do you still have time to go fishing?
I love to go fishing. And I say that our finance director, her and her husband like to fly fish, and I like to fly fish too. I like to fish for trout. And so whenever I get someone who would like to go fishing with me, I love to fish. I'm not gonna never stop fishing, and I'm never gonna stop power shopping.
I have a question. Hello.
Go ahead, Harvey.
Hi. Mayor, I'm just wondering, can you talk a little bit about the status of the consent decree and if there's an economic impact on fulfilling that?
Right now, we just had our last status hearing a couple of months ago. We due to go into another status hearing in April. And as far as Judge Perry, we are working diligently, we're working faithfully to achieve the different items in the consent decree. The police department just finished their roll call training. We have hired a consent decree coordinator, where she works with Assistant Chief McCall to make certain that the policies are being written and the engagement. The economic impact on Ferguson, it is really costing us simply because our first year we spent over $300,000, and this is our 5th year. So we are working to continue to have a balanced budget, even though we have a $1.5 million shortfall. And we're due to have another meeting in April with the judge, the DOJ, and the monitor to let them know where we are and how can they assist us to achieve the level of compliance that they want us to do.
It looks like we have another question that's, sorry, it looks like we have another question that says, will you be utilizing social workers to work with the police?
Of course. We have been talking with Washington University's Brown School of Social Work, and right now we have 3 practicum students that we have placed within City Hall, and we have been working with Chief Armstrong and Professor Jack Kirkland to bring social workers to be placed in this police department. We do understand that a lot of the calls that go to the police department are not always needed to be handled by police, but if we have social worker, it will make a difference. And I shared that with you because one of the residents, he called me about a couple of days ago, and he wanted to thank me to the point where the police, his wife was having some mental issues, and he called dispatch and asked them to send women instead of men. And the 2 women that went and answered the call, they were able to talk his wife down and get her back inside. So they are trained to do that anyway. So if we had a social worker, that person could have gone along with the police officer. We wouldn't have had to use 2. We probably would have used 1. And then the social worker would have been able to give that family some additional resources in order to make certain that this particular person stay healthy and stay safe.
Okay, thank you. And it looks like we have a comment that says, you are doing a great job. So keep up the good work. Are there any other questions?
There's no left.
So we have another question that says, any advice for other aspiring candidates?
When you make the decision that you want to run for a particular seat, you have to decide if you're going to be a politician or a public servant. I took the public servant route because people empower you to lead them. They don't want you to feel like they're giving you power to abuse the office. So the first thing you need to do is make a decision. Then find yourself a mentor, because I am successful today, not because of all the work I did, but all the people who rally around me to support me and help me understand why and when and how things go. So always find yourself a mentor. And the best thing you could do is volunteer on someone else's campaign, so you can find out exactly how it goes and whether or not you really want to do all that walking and talking. That's my best advice.
Okay. What kind of support are you getting from the local business community?
Let me turn that around. What kind of support am I giving to the local businesses? And that's the key. They need our support at this time. I make certain that everyone knows that our restaurants are open. They're not at full capacity. Some of them are doing carryouts. In addition to that, a couple of weeks ago at our city council meeting, we decided to refund the liquor license to all of our restaurants, so that will help them to keep them afloat during the midst of this pandemic. So the support, I support them 100%.
Are there any other questions? Also, feel free to unmute yourself if you'd like to ask your question out loud.
Hello, Mayor Jones. This is Councilwoman Greer from the city of Creve Coeur. And I just wanted to kind of go back to the other question. Someone asked, what can other communities like Creve Coeur do to support you? And I heard your answer. And so I just want to make sure that you know that you can contact me anytime, and I will do whatever I can as a city council person in Creve Coeur to help your community. I know the term better together kind of left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, but I do really think that our strength comes from our communities unifying and working together and supporting each other, and I'm committed to doing that.
Oh, great. We are stronger together. The previous Zoom call I was on, all the North County mayors had gotten together, and we were talking about how we can strengthen our communities and how we can work together, and things that plague my community may not be plaguing your community, but you could come alongside of me and help me to move forward. So I will be calling Creve Coeur, and I share that with you because a lot of people say, don't tell her that, because she will call, and I will call you for your support.
And I will answer that call.
Okay.
Willingly.
Okay.
Okay, so it looks like we also have another question. Someone wants you to elaborate on how individual citizens can help.
Individual citizens can help stabilize their neighborhood. You can look out for your neighbors, because, you know, a long time ago, we used to talk about the nosy neighbor. We need a lot of them now to be nosy, to look out for one another. Get together and clean up your own neighborhood. Don't wait for you to have a big day to clean up. Make certain you clean up your own neighborhood. Watch who comes in and out of your neighborhood, and don't be afraid to report strange activity in your neighborhood, because we had just had an incident in an apartment complex where a couple of people had an opportunity to observe this man going into the laundry room. And they watched him go in for like 2 or 3 days, knowing that he does not live in that apartment complex. So when he went in one time, they called the police, and the police was there, and he was doing some things he had no business doing. So just be vigilant of what's going on in your neighborhood, and be willing to call the police, because if we don't trust our police officers, then we won't have things we need to keep our neighborhood safe.
Okay, thank you. So the next question says, what's something we might want to know about you that we wouldn't think to ask?
I love to dance. The minute I hear music, I start moving. And people like, oh, she danced. I say, yeah, I can dance. So I love to dance. So people, you know, people think, oh, she danced. Yes, I love to dance. So that's about it.
Okay. Any other questions?
Well, Cindy, this is Florence. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Well,
we can hear you.
I really want to thank you for handling the chat for us tonight. What an excellent job. And I'd like to also point out that Cindy is one of our youngest Democrats, I believe, on this program tonight. And we look forward to you doing great things here in Creve Coeur for us. So I'm going to turn it back over to, and also Mayor, have you finished, Sydney? Have you finished?
Yes.
Okay, and also Mayor Jones, I want to thank you for an excellent presentation tonight and giving us some great insight of what is going on in Ferguson and about your life and how you got your position, got ready for your position to be mayor. We certainly appreciate that, and I'm sure we could get some ideas and take some of these good notes and help us in our campaign. And one of the things that we want to do is volunteer, as she said, to help someone else in their campaigns when they are running for office. You know, we don't want to sit back and not help. That's when we lose our battle for position. So we're going to get out there and help all of these new people that are coming on. And we really want to thank you again for speaking to us tonight.
I just want to share one more thing about campaigning. Someone is going to win and someone is going to learn. I don't say lose, but you don't have to be bitter. If you lose, then it becomes your responsibility to get behind that person who won that seat and work with them, because you're out there working to better your community. And if the citizens choose one person over another, don't be bitter, because it's still your community and you still need to work to better your community. And if you're gonna run a campaign, don't run a negative campaign, because negativity gets you nowhere. You always want to be positive. Michelle Obama said, when they go low, you go high, but you go super high, because negativity is a disease and you don't want to be a part of that. So run a good, clean, honest campaign, and your work will pay off for you. Thank you.
How do you counteract negativity?
Well, what I do, now a lot of people say I should say a lot of things, but I just take it from my days as being a leader in Mary Kay. We always say when people talk about you, they're behind you. People don't talk to you to your face. They talk behind you. So that means you are in front of them. So every time someone say something negative to you, you have to stop and turn around and address it. So you're losing ground. So you just allow them to talk and you stay focused. You know, when they are training horses, race horses, they put a blinder on each side. So when that race horse get in that stall, when he look left, he don't see anything. When he look right, he doesn't see anything. It forces him to look straight ahead. And that's what you want to do. You want to put your blinders on and you don't want to hear or see anything but keep you going forward. Because the minute you stop, they're gaining on you. And you don't want people to gain on you. So stay focused.
Okay, then, are there any more questions for tonight? Alan, you want to continue with what you need to do? I think you're going to make some announcements, aren't you?
Yes, if there are no more
And
questions.
some comments, if you want to.
Oh, I think enough wisdom has been shared that anything I added would either replicate or water down. And so thank you so much, Mary Jones, for wonderful words to keep us engaged and excited in this season of time where we're getting ready for municipal elections. It's great to hear from a mayor who's so engaged with her community and so inspirational to the rest of us too. Yeah, it's just been wonderful to hear you and hear more of your story. As we go into the next few weeks, I will just reiterate again that we are in an election season that may not get as much attention from a lot of us because a lot of the races are nonpartisan, and of course we're here in a Democratic club, but there's plenty of important stuff going on, and I hope everyone is getting involved and seeing who's on your ballot and finding ways to help the folks that you support and finding ways to not be too negative about the folks you don't, so that we can all come together as our communities and keep making St. Louis County and St. Louis City and everywhere we are a better place. Next month, we are going to be looking at the open U.S. Senate race that Roy Blunt is vacating. So we're going to take a look at that and maybe come up with some ideas for what it's going to take for a Democratic win. If you have ideas for who might be good to talk to us about that, you can email Florence or Harvey. You should have access to their stuff. You can also put it on social media. Of course, I'll make that plug again. And we look forward to seeing you back then. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Florence for any closing comments you may have.
Well, again, thanks to everyone who attended tonight. And also one other little thing I would like to say. You know, there's a race going on in the city for the mayors, and I have been writing postcards, just general postcards, not designating any particular person, but we just want to help get those people out to vote on April 6th. And so if anyone wants to do postcard, call me and I could hook you up with the people who are, you know, writing the postcards, who has the postcards. And again, I would like to thank everybody for coming. And we look forward to seeing you next month. And thank you, Mayor Jones, for a wonderful speech tonight. And question, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
You're quite welcome. I think there's something in the chat regarding someone has postcards. LaRonda Wilson, if someone can see that. Can you all see it? If you need postcards to write, the only thing you have to do is put your own postage on them, which I did that too. I did about 100 the other day. Okay, so thank you again, Alan. And thank you.